In this video, let's check the compatibility issues among platforms where G++ compiler is used. On the left-hand side, this is my Mac computer, and the G++ is part of the Xcode IDE. In the video, I have used this one, so as I compile the code, everything works fine, and then no problem. Now, I have moved the programs, transferred those programs to the CS Linux server. So on the right hand side is a CS Linux server. I've transferred those programs I've developed from a Mac G++ compiler. So let's compile it. And what it says is that in node.cpp at line 5, null PTRs are not declared. So here, let's take a look at node.cpp. There. Null PTR is defined in IOStream, but in some other platform, the null PTR is not defined as a part of the IOStream library. So in Linux, CS Linux, the G++ compiler, the null PTR is not default option. In this case, what you can do is you can define using macro #define, just define what null PTR is. Null PTR used to be all capital null is the one defined in IOStream. So macro define is not C++ language, but it's for the compiler saying that I'm going to define null PTR as a value of null. That's what you need to do. So let's now try to compile again. Then let's find the first error message in node.cpp. Null PTR is not defined here. Oh, that's what I have cleared. Now in list.cpp, again null PTR is not defined. So let's do that one too. So define null PTR as null value. Of course, so when you write the program, instead of using null PTR, you could use null directly. Let's compile. Now in list.cpp at line 32, assert was not declared. So list.cpp line 32, I have used assert here, but that's not declared because here assert is from C assert library. So it seems the C assert library is automatically included in Mac G++ compiler, but in Linux that is not true. So here you need to include C assert to use assert function. So main.cpp assert is not recognized. So same is true in main.cpp. We need to include C assert library so that you can use assert function. Then one more, in main.cpp null PTR is not declared. So we need to do in main.cpp, we need to define null PTR as null, or in null PTR you could change it to capital null directly there. Compile the program. Then the srender was not declared in the scope. So srender function is in main.cpp. So srender function is I think it's a cstdlib library. Compile the program. So finally, the random shuffle function is not recognized because in random shuffle function is in algorithm library. So now all compatibility issue has been cleared. That compiles and runs okay. So as you can see, you could use a G++ compiler, and then depending on the platform, there's some variations, slight differences. Mostly the change is whether the library, C++ standard library is automatically included or not. So it seems that in the CS Linux Ubuntu system, that you need to include most of those standard libraries explicitly, and on Mac, G++ library includes many of those standard libraries implicitly. Those are the changes. So as you use some other platforms, feel free to post your findings on D12 so that we can share that info.